you know.
Are you fishing for a cold open right now?
No, we're just spitballing here. You know, sometimes when there's only two of us, it's hard to come up with witty banter.
Especially when it's me.
We get a lot of shots. Everybody come to their net. We just have to get more and more pucks to their net.
What were you saying about putting pucks on net?
Continue to put pucks on net.
Well, that's the key. We got to get the puck on net.
Pucks on net.
He's got that nick for the net too. He just throws puck on net.
It was nice to get pucks on net.
Pucks on net and driving and making it a hard night on him.
Live on tape from the Pucks on Net studios.
This is not the Pucks on Net studios.
What is this?
We're in a little shanty.
On the side of the highway?
On the side of the... No, well, I mean, we're in Cole Harbor. It's still a nice shanty. I mean...
It's not that upside-down shanty, though. We should set that up, set the record straight.
The upside-down shanty, is that from Stranger Things?
More or less.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in a shanty. There's a lot of obstacles facing us this week, but I would just like to give a quick shout-out to my main man, P-Mac on the street, for being the Cal Ripken Jr. of the podcast, the Iron Man. The Hendricksidine, I guess that's more of an accurate description.
Why? Because I'm getting beat up in my old age?
That knee is fine. What are you pouting about? Come on.
My eyes don't work as well as they used to. Wear glasses sometimes.
Like a nerd. Oh, I mean.
I take that as a compliment. After last week's show, I think the viewers or the listeners at home know that my Harry Potter love just proved my nerdiness.
You got a love for Harry Potter, or the Harry Potter comments
on Twitter. Was there? Did people care?
Yeah, a lot of people.
I guess we got a little banter.
A lot of people did care, and I don't watch the Potter, but we all have our own nerd vices. So I'm not gonna poo anything you bring to the table. I'm gonna welcome it with open arms.
Yeah, you watch wrestling. You can't say anything.
You don't gotta bring that up this early. God. Yeah, this is now with Dave gone.
Hey, look, the Bachelorette studio audience is walking by. Right, we should wave to them.
Bye. So the other reason we're in there,
they're waving back at us. It's sweet of them. It's nice.
They're very nice. The other reason we are in this shanty, this shack, this lean-to, is because where we usually record, we have two main podcast recording locations. Paul, we have Gita's palatial estate on the 23rd floor.
It's a nice place.
Yeah, we record here in the studio where we work, and occasionally we're at my apartment, but we don't like to go there. It's kind of out of the way.
There's vermin.
Yeah, there's a lot there. Silverfish.
Rodents.
No, we killed all those. So we're going to record down here, but they are recording the Bachelorette Canada after show downstairs.
Yeah, post-game show.
So we can't just, go into a corner and say, don't mind us. We'll take care of ourselves. So we gotta relocate. So
maybe we should be doing the show about the Bachelorette Canada, like our post-game analysis.
Well, now it's one girl, and I think it's all guys.
Yeah, I guess that's tough for us to comment on because we'd just be like, why aren't we on this show?
I think you'd be.
We're both very eligible bachelors, I think. You haven't told me. Maybe this week that changed.
No. Yeah, I suppose.
No. We don't have to get into this. I feel like we're going too personal, Ryan. I'm sorry.
I had a Tinder date on Saturday.
Oh, another Stephanie.
No, but I did tell her that story. And she thought it was quite humorous, so that's always a good sign. But she did keep track of my last name like 7 or 8 times. For instances to Google me, and she kind of said that, and I said, go right ahead. We all know what happened to the last girl that Googled me and listened to this podcast.
Well, yeah, feel free to steal my Hugh Jackman story. A friend of mine told me that she used the Hugh Jackman story on a Tinder date recently. Now that they were running out of material. I don't know how that would come up.
Now, what happened in the Hugh Jackman story?
Do you not know my Hugh Jackman story?
I know it.
Oh, yeah, maybe I haven't told it on the podcast. I feel like I've told everybody.
Well, there's only so many things to talk about in hockey this week, so why don't you let the listeners in on this?
Well, you see, back when I was about 15 years old, they were filming X-Men 2, again, nerdy stuff, right by my best friend's house.
Question.
Yeah.
Is Halle Berry in that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see her?
No, it was funny because as we hung out outside of the set where they were shooting.
You and Halle Berry.
Yes, me and Halle Berry. No, like me and some friends hung out at the end of the street while they were shooting. If people have seen X-Men 2, when they escape, they go to Iceman's house, and his parents are kind of like bigots, I seem to remember. I haven't seen it in a long time. And they don't like these mutants showing up at their doorstep. Anyway, so we watched that. Pyro was torching police cars. It was a lot of fun.
Okay.
But yeah, as the day went on, more nerds showed up, and there was one very large comic book nerd with a bunch of like X-Men paraphernalia that was like, "Is Halle Berry here?" That was all he cared about. And we hadn't seen her, so we were like, well, I don't know, man.
And that's the story of how Paul and I met.
Yeah. So there you go. Ryan is a huge X-Men Halle Berry fan. Anyways, we hung out there all day.
Swordfish. Great movie.
We hung out there all day. The story's going on too long, but throughout the day, people were coming out and talking to us. The woman that trained the like cat that's in the scene let us play with this bird she was training for another movie or whatever. And this one guy came out and he was like, "Oh, do you guys like X-Men?" And he talked to us a lot about X-Men. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get you guys some snacks out of the craft services truck." This like guy in his 40s, and we're like 15 or whatever, and we're like, "Oh yeah, sure, it's chocolate bars and sodas, sure." And he comes back and he gives us this candy, and we're all like eating candy, talking about comic books, and he's just like, I lied, guys, I'm not actually with craft services. And we're like, stranger danger. He goes, I'm actually one of the producers and writers for the film. It was Tom DeSanto.
Yeah.
And he's like, stick around and I'll try to get some of the actors to come out and hang out too later. And he hung out with us all day. Really cool guy. And true to his word. As the day went on, Anna Paquin drove by and blew some kisses at me.
Oh.
And the guy that plays Iceman, who I never remember his name, he's a Canadian actor. He just got a role in that new series with
Brent Butt.
It's not Brent Butt, but the one that played Agent Carter. Anyway, but then we thought, okay, that was probably all of them. No one actually stopped to talk to us, and we were about to go home. One of my friends did go home, and he regrets it to this day, I'm sure. A car stopped right next to me with tinted windows. We didn't think much of it. Door swings open. Out steps big Hugh Jackman with his thick Australian accent. Like, oh, hey, I can't do an Australian accent. Good day. And I was standing there holding a Wolverine action figure and a Captain Picard action figure, just in case Patrick Stewart was there. And I was just like, looked at the action figures and looked at him like
which
he was right next to me. And I was like, oh my goodness, you're Patrick Stewart, aren't you? Because I'm a smart aleck, stupid, nerdy 15-year-old. I was like, oh my gosh, you're Patrick Stewart, aren't you?
That's what you got to say to them.
And he laughed hysterically at that and hung out with us for like 10 or 15 minutes. And there's video on the internet. If you search Hugh Jackman beats Paul up, there's footage of him holding my Wolverine action figure, and he just says like, "You gotta be careful with Wolverine, kids." And he picks me up and throws me into a car, and then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I just got beat up by Hugh Jackman. And that's the whole video.
I'm gonna ask you to tweet that later tonight.
The video?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Anyway, very hockey related, but there's my Hugh Jackman story. And you can use it on Tinder dates that your friend Paul. It wasn't. You can repurpose it and say it was you.
Yeah, I was hanging out with you.
My friend just told the story about me, and it was a point of conversation.
How'd the date go?
She said she wasn't too fond of the film. I feel like I could say this. They live overseas. They're European. They're never going to listen to a hockey podcast.
European? Wow. Actually, we have a very high...
They're Scots, and we have some Scottish listeners, so
you know what?
Maybe the guy will hear it. I don't know.
I started paying an extra $5 a month for the advanced stats, which is ironic on its own, given us the intro to this show. But now we know there is a lot of listeners in the UK. A lot of them.
Yeah. So anyway, hope you folks like X-Men and Harry Potter and Bunnicula. That was the other reference.
We'll get to that a little later.
All right.
Thanks for joining us where you got us from iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Pucksnet.ca. Paul, I'm going to need your help on this one. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Pucksnet.ca or Pucksnet.ca.
What?
I need your help.
Pucksnet.ca.
Ka! And we're now on Google Play.
That was uncomfortable.
Yeah, I know. That's why I asked for your help in advance.
Yeah, well, you should, I refuse. I'm anti-Ka. I don't get to say that enough. I've been respectful, but it's just you and me right now, and I know.
We're learning a lot about each other right now, and it's just you and I.
Yep. I don't know if that's good. Okay. Let's keep it rolling, Ryan. What's next?
Well, we could talk about Nail Yakupov.
Yeah, do you like Nail to St. Louis?
I'm amazed that they got anything for him personally.
Well, it was a sack of pucks.
They got a sack of pucks.
Upgraded to 2 sacks of pucks if he plays a few games and scores a few goals.
Is it just safe to say that Oilers stink that we always joke about year after year is that much more real based on the return of Taylor Hall and Nail Yakupov?
Nail Yakupov's a different beast.
Real stinky.
He has not. There's no stink there. He just has not performed.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason why he should bring you that much. You know, he's Alexander Daigle of the last few years, like underperforming first overall pick. We haven't seen one like that really in a while.
And when they went into that draft, they weren't even sure he was going to go number 1. And he was the guy that they're like, well, maybe the Oilers shouldn't draft him because they've got about 6 of those guys already.
That being said, I think it's a great risk for the St. Louis Blues, especially since Tarasenko is their leader.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to think he'll be a little bit more comfortable with Tarasenko as
another soulless
fresh start,
Russian.
Young guy. It's a very offensively talented team in St. Louis. St. Louis could be a very exciting team if things work out.
I disagree. Have you looked at that roster?
I honestly haven't pulled out many rosters. You wanted to do a season preview, and this is a hockey podcast.
This is
I've
not
been
the season
so busy.
preview.
I've been so busy with other things in life. I did watch some of the preseason, but I can honestly say I've been not checking the St. Louis Blues status too closely. They are one of the most boring teams in the NHL, as we decided previously.
I looked at the St. Louis Blues roster last night, and one of my favorite activities to do after school and on weekends of look at the St. Louis Blues roster and try not to fall asleep. You don't know where the goals are. Like, I don't know who scored all the goals for that team.
Tarasenko.
So he's going to score 1 a night.
Oh, yeah, he could do that. He's good.
So they'll win 1-0 every night, or they'll lose, The point is,
I haven't looked at the lineup. They have some kids coming up in the system and young goaltending that has potential. But, I mean, yeah, they could easily fall out of the playoffs.
Oh,
and,
no.
And Hitch is disappearing after this year. So, I mean.
Well, yeah, that's because that's what happens in St. Louis. That's where Americans and, for the most part, superstars go to die. And Nail Yakupov is going to go there, and we'll never hear from him again, except when the Blues play the Oilers or something.
Stastny's still in St. Louis, right?
Really?
Isn't he? Maybe not.
Maybe. This is my favorite segment.
This is why I don't want to do these segments, because I when I do my research, I know what's going on, and if I talk about teams that I follow, I know what's going on, but I don't follow St. Louis.
It's like 2 weeks ago when Gita said, when we did our segment of Gita reads out loud the Carolina Hurricanes roster, and they're all,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, him.
Yeah. Cam Ward, of course.
Right. Eddie Lack with his big taco deal down there.
He did get one, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he sells tacos on the side.
Well, that's good.
I think they pay him in tacos, though, so.
That's good to diversify.
For him, that's a valuable asset.
One thing I find funny is just Nail Yakupov is drafted first overall in 2012, and Zach Pachiro was drafted 112th in 2013. And this Pachiro guy spent last year with the Quad City Mallards of the ACHL.
Well, and he's coming off some kind of injury. What did he have?
Good.
Yeah, he's rehabbing something.
Like, they're a couple steps away from, you getting traded
he
for
was
Nail
a
Yakupov.
He was he was like, just for numbers, because you're only allowed to carry so many bodies, I think, they were like, oh, you got to take somebody back.
So the Nail Yakupov for a conditional third-round pick isn't the worst trade.
Could end up being a second-round pick, but that also assumes that he's going to be moderately successful, third-line quality guy.
Do you know the conditions?
It's 20 goals or something in a
Okay.
season, or I can't. Yeah, I should know this, but
You just had 2 turkey dinners?
I only had 1 turkey dinner, but I did eat a lot of pumpkin cheesecake last night, so that's that's gumming up the brain, I think.
I had no dinners.
That's sad.
Yeah, I was. I was going to sit at home and watch the Blue Jays game, and then a friend of ours came by with a case of beer to watch it, and then we watched the whole debate, and then I looked up, and it was like 8:30.
Could we just talk about the debate? I paid a lot more attention to that the past week than I did hockey.
Well, we're in the worst part of... I mean, there was some excitement down in Rogers Arena today.
Was it just locker room talk, though?
No, there was some changes.
Okay.
Did you not hear about this?
No, I just wanted to reference locker room talk.
Oh.
Sorry.
Well, that's not locker room talk.
Okay, what happened?
No, that's what all the athletes are coming out now and saying. Like the Oakland athletics. That doesn't happen in our locker room.
Yeah, no, there's been a couple of people that have been like, oh yeah, no, he's right. It's just that all guys talk like that. And I'm like, I can honestly say I've never said anything. Mind you, I'm more PG than I think most people, but I've never said anything along those lines. Never really thought anything along those lines. I don't buy that excuse.
Paul, just for the record, you're letting the Pucks on Net listeners out there know that you have not once bragged about sexually assaulting women.
Okay, I shouldn't brag about that.
But you haven't.
No.
That's good.
Publicly.
Maybe you should run for president.
Publicly announcing, yes, I've never done that, and I don't condone. It's not something that's crossed my mind that, like, people talk about that until lately, I guess. But we do live in a world that, there's a lot of work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm starting into my presidential spiel.
That's fine. We are in the weird no man's land of the preseason. The hockey season starts tomorrow, I believe.
So this is where I instigate my late independent campaign to be president of the United States of America.
That's not the
first thing I change is that non-American born people can be president of the United States of America.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, that's my vice presidential candidate. No, it's Bernie Sanders.
You know what the worst part of this podcast is right now?
People staring at us?
Yeah. Well, let's just look at them back. Hi. I don't know who those...
She's waving.
Who are those people?
I think they're here for the Bachelorette, too.
See, now, listen. The Bachelorette is just screwing up everything in our lives.
Is it really that bad if a couple of female admirers are watching this from the other side of the glass?
Maybe they listen to the show.
After everything we just said, putting Trump down... I was just like, this is so bad.
and it's what
that, a couple of stars like us.
The best part is we phrased it properly. We didn't grab nothing by the who's it.
Oh, yeah, yep. Vote wisely, America. That's all I'm gonna say. Vote wisely.
Okay, so on to the Canucks. Emerson Etem is on waivers right now.
Oh, good. I have not been in the loop the last day and a half.
Oh, that was the big to-do. It wasn't locker room talk.
There wasn't locker room talk. They didn't. Did they pick up any of those guys on waivers like Pulkkinen? No, because Pulkkinen went to Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota, and then Toronto picked up the Griffith kid, who was the leading scorer in the AHL last year or something. I don't know, but I believe the Canucks passed on all of them.
Okay, well, But Emerson Etem's on waivers, so he deserves to be there after the preseason that he played. The little bits I saw and what I heard about him, well, that not overly positive.
That ties into the other announcement that happened today. Was Tomo Ruutu was released. He's out of his PTO, and Jack Skille is going to be signed.
Okay,
so Emerson Etem and Jack Skille are there because they deserve to be there. Because he had a great, fantastic, hardworking preseason, and Emerson Etem did not. Emerson Etem looked like Mason Raymond, where he would get the puck, skate really fast, hit the circle, and not really know what to do with it.
Peel off.
Yeah, peel off always works. Give it a try.
Peel off. Didn't he used to play for the Kings or something?
I think so.
Yeah, there's a peel off in the league.
Yeah. The other thing I like about Jack Skille being signed is because he is there to play fourth line or bottom 6 minutes, play hard, work hard, not really contribute, a little contribute here and there, but for the most part, just be a mucker and a grinder.
Or sit in the press box.
But for the most part, the role he takes will prevent Jake Virtanen from being in the bottom 6 because he shouldn't be playing on the fourth line.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I mean, the fact that Jack Skille is there, and if is it Jack or Jake? No.
Jack Skille.
And so if Jack Skille is there preventing Jake Virtanen playing on the fourth line, which is always the Canucks curse, because remember when, anytime that there's a prospect that comes in, they stick him on the fourth line and wonder why he's not producing.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So I can't.
That's Brendan Gauntz's job, isn't it?
Well, he's making the team too.
Well, he should make the team.
Yeah. And Anton Rodin is on
IR.
We don't know if it's long-term IR. So everything has fallen into place for Jake to make the team, and I don't know what will happen in that process of when Anton Rodin is back.
He's probably the guy that gets sent down.
Would Rodin get sent down?
No,
Jake.
Yeah. Depending on his performance.
Yeah.
Because I know we have listeners that are close to Jake, and they may, believe. And I want him to be successful, but he'd be an easy one to send down, and it wouldn't be so bad for him to go down and crack some skulls in the AHL for a few weeks.
Well, it'd be good for him. Those buses are a lot nicer.
It would make him feel invincible. I honestly think a month or two in the AHL, with his tenacity, he'd be out there cracking skulls, scoring goals, and he would come back to the NHL feeling like, $1 million.
Well, yeah, because when you're off that bus and you're on a plane and somebody's carrying your bags, you're going to be a lot more happy to be there, a lot more thankful. And
there's an appreciation factor, but just the confidence he'd build up by having some success. He's physically big enough, but I think he's one of those guys that could stand a little confidence, little swagger.
Oh, yeah. He needs it.
Yeah,
for the game he's going to play.
Yeah,
of course,
or should be playing.
And I mean, at the end of the day, it's perfectly fine for guys like Stetcher and Virtanen to go down, because they can, and then let the guys that have one-way deals stay up, earn their spot or lose their spot, and then you trade them accordingly or you give up on them. But I mean, just keeping Stetcher and Virtanen here because they're exciting, and then Frank Corradoing whoever it is not a good idea.
Stetcher, I don't know. I still would have kept Stetcher over Larson, if that's your choice.
I've heard he's not very good.
They want to give him a shot, but in the preseason he couldn't really do that much. And if you're not effective in the NHL preseason, you're not even Fedor Fedorov. Come on.
And if you're not effective against the Oilers or the Flames, B squad.
Did we name the winner of the Fedor Fedorov Memorial Trophy?
No, but I
think it's Troy Stetcher.
Ask
me.
Is it Troy Stetcher?
Because I really liked Rodin.
Yeah, he had a good game, but he's hurt.
Stetcher.
It should be Stetcher. It probably will be Stetcher because he kind of had that Ben Hutton approach of, here's a college kid. We don't know what he's going to do. He's excited to be here, and he blew the doors off the bus, and he made the team, and he drummed up all that excitement. My pick would be Jack Skille.
No,
but this is a guy who came in on a PTO, and we said a couple weeks ago he's just there to fill out roster spots because you have to have that mandatory number of veterans, which was revoked this year because of the World Cup.
Oh well, part of the Fedor Fedorov Trophy is awarded because of the hype and potentially the overhype of a particular player.
If you want to talk about
Jack Skille
hype,
doesn't get
whoa. You want to talk about hype. You want to talk about potential. It comes in the form of 29-year-old American Jack Skille. I bet you he's got almost 100 NHL goals over.
Jack Skille sounds like a delicious breakfast dish at Denny's.
A Jack Skille?
Yeah, could I get the Jack Skille with the sausage? Bacon's bad for you, I heard.
Oh yeah, you don't want to get bacon.
No. Anyway, no, it's Troy.
It's
the
Troy.
boy. Stetcher.
I thought it was Troy the Joy.
Oh yeah, Troy the Joy. I've thrown out anything that rhymes with Troy.
Yeah, that's fine. I like that. But anyway, yeah, it is definitely Troy Stetcher who won the 2016 Fedor Fedorov Memorial Trophy.
Did anyone pick Stetcher? I don't remember the picks.
The picks were Subban, Demko, and somebody else. I couldn't tell you. It happened 3 weeks ago, and it's been a rough.
Did you pick Ruutu?
I think somebody might have picked a Ruutu, but it was Subban and Demko were the two picks. I picked Demko.
Oh, and Dave wouldn't have picked Ruutu, I don't think.
Dave's not here, man.
Andrew Castles, I think he earned Cole Castles.
Cole Castles. Well, now that you mentioned Dave, who was unable to join us for the podcast this week, so we have two things to do. We need to put out a Craigslist ad. A new podcast heel.
Whoa, really?
Well, yeah.
On Craigslist.
Well, I think
you're looking for a heel. That's the right place. You're throwing out requests on Twitter for Bob McKenzie. I don't think he's the type you want as a heel.
Can you imagine if Bob McKenzie comes in here slagging the Calgary Flames for running a Bush League operation?
He needs an outlet. You know that's in there.
Bob McKenzie or Dave?
Oh, yeah. Bob McKenzie.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he needs somewhere to spew that hatred.
Man,
Hodge, what's his name?
Dave Hodge?
Dave Hodge would be great. He'd be a great heel. We should bring him in.
The audible pen flip?
That was great. As much as I've come to appreciate CBC in the past few years.
I want to bring that clip up. Can you just explain this clip while I get it?
People know about this clip. Back in the day,
you'd be surprised.
Hodge worked for the CBC, and he was calling for a clip at the end of the night or something, and they couldn't bring it up, and he was really frustrated. So he just goes, well, I mean, you'll hear him comment on it, and you can't hear it probably, even though Ryan says you can. But he just throws his pen in the air and kind of rolls his eyes.
I will do audio for the pen flip.
All right, you give us the play-by-play.
Now, Montreal and the Philadelphia Flyers are currently playing overtime. And are we able to go there or not? We are not able to go there. That's the way things go today in sports on this network. And the Flyers and the Canadians have us in suspense and will remain that way until we can find out somehow who won this game or who's responsible for the way we do things here. Good night for Hockey Night in Canada.
The sound effect. He's wearing his baby blue Hockey Night in Canada blazer, and I think that was really what helped launch Don Cherry to the extent that he was at, because after he was let go after that day, I imagine
he was
McLean and Cherry became like the show, because Hodge had a lot of respect, and he was, I guess, their key host. He's the Ron McLean of the day. That's before my time, though. What year was that, 1987 or something?
Oh, it was early 80s.
I don't think it was that far back. Late 80s. Anyway, I was a small child. I used to watch Hockey Night in Canada. My grandma always told me that I'd stay up to watch Wayne Gretzky until all hours of the night. Sorry, Vancouver Canucks fans, but...
Can we talk about Hockey Night in Canada?
Sure.
Have you... I don't care when... This is my personal... I don't give a shit. Everyone knows this is my opinion. I love the new commercials for the new old Hockey Night in Canada that are coming out. And the simple of Ron McLean saying every Saturday games are important. Everybody watches the Saturday game.
Yeah, it's a very CBC advertisement.
And I love I am on a hell of a CBC love affair right now ever since the summer with the hip. But I love that commercial. It did everything that they didn't do the last 2 years. Instead of focusing on the significance and importance of the Saturday night game, they went all, oh man, fucking sky cams, fucking Strombo, we got cameras everywhere. We're doing intermissions in a hangar. Woo!
Doing the do,
yeah.
I'm glad you got a couple whistles in there, but wasn't gonna come from political aspiration, Paul over here.
Right over president, fucking president.
Vote for Paul.
Grab that election by the... What were you saying?
Yes, I like that they did it. At the same time, all I've been able to think when I see them is like, why was George Stroumboulopoulos forced into that faux? It wasn't even like cool by George's books.
No.
That was definitely not his Hockey Night in Canada. They tried to... We've talked about it on the show in the past, though. Why could you not set it up like old school Hockey Night in Canada with a hip young host, new voice, fresh eyes, let him stick to what he's good at?
Because they had to
and then have those types of commercials that, mesh the new with the old.
Of course. But you'd think that, but they bungled it. They go, we have to make this the most exciting. They went for excitement and new and cutting edge and all these gimmicks, and they forgot that there's a reason why people have tuned in droves on the Saturday night game, and it's significant and it's important for a reason. And sometimes you don't need to screw things up.
It wasn't broken.
It was not broken. Now, I'm the old school. I like the old school things. I love Don Cherry, and even I was like, Ron McLean's limericks are kind of starting to piss me off. Like, he kind of goes into business for himself. I'm like, Strombo was the right guy. But they should have done, and we talk about this a lot, but it goes to show in Canada just how important Hockey Night in Canada is to us. Strombo should have done what they're doing with Dave and Amber. Dave and Amber host Hockey Night in Canada for the second game. Ron McLean does the first game. They should have done that and eased him in. And they didn't, and it's unfortunate.
And give him a panel that supports him. Some of the guys did, but some of the guys definitely did not.
Like, I'm going to agree with a guy dressed like that.
Yeah, they said it with their eyes. I don't know if they actually said that, but yeah. No. Anyway, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's a good way to promote it. Should have done that with George.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah. No, I've had a recent love affair with CBC myself. More CBC Radio. I've really enjoyed their newscasts. And
me too.
The more I listen to CBC Radio, it's great stuff. I like what they're doing. But yeah, the Hockey Night in Canada is a bit of a sore spot. And I'm a big George fan. I know he's not the biggest hockey guy, but I think he could have done it. They just did it the horrible, wrong, not cool way. It was
so
the
uncool.
opposite of everything they thought it would be.
It
was so not. It was cool for like, I don't even think it was cool for like. I was thinking like guys in their 60s and 70s. Like it looked like a set that would have been cool in the 1970s or something.
It was like 5 different eras of television:
That's true.
wood panel and Tron, and I don't know. That being said, we do love the CBC. I'm listening to so much CBC Radio 3. So CBC, I'll tweet this to you. If you need some sports content, Pucks on Net, we can cut those whistles right out. We can work with you.
I'll work the intermissions on Hockey Night in Canada.
Or just even get the podcast featured on the somewhere. Gotta diversify.
But yeah, indie mixtape. Can I be selling that to Canadian Brett? No, I probably shouldn't. We're in the shower right now. Watch Indie Mixtape on Thursday nights at 6:30 p.m. and Fridays at 8 p.m.
You should. You do a great job on that show.
Thank you. I'm gonna get you on the show sometime, Ryan. I want you hosting one week.
One day. This ties into the question from who is this? Punkers Plays at Punkers Slave. Will EA crack their 3-year slump of failed predictions by accurately predicting a 65-point Canucks season this year? #Savage. Now, TSN, I forget who it was, but they also predicted the Canucks would finish dead last in the standings this year.
And the first week of Power Rankings had the Canucks in 30th place.
There's
consensus.
There is
give them that.
They are on the same page. I have some faith in the Canucks, not this year. But I'm also unsure of what they could all do if they all start gelling together. There's a lot of interesting pieces there. There's also a whole lot of ifs. There's a shit ton of potential, but as we know from the Edmonton Oilers, potential is not a game plan. And I get that vibe from this team.
I don't like picking teams for the bottom of the league just because there is a lot more parity in the league than there has been in the past.
And Carolina's in the league still.
But there's a lot of teams you can look at and go, well, if everything goes right, they could sneak into the playoffs.
Yep.
I even feel the Canucks are still in that territory. If they don't have a horrible year injury-wise and young kids step up a little bit earlier than expected, and you still
Who are the young kids in your mind there?
Well, you still got Bo Horvat. If he becomes a true second-line replacement for Ryan Kessler type of guy, all of a sudden the Sedins will experience greater success because they've always been a line that succeeds when other teams start focusing on the other lines. Because
of course,
the reason they've been unsuccessful in certain seasons lately is all the attention. You just shut down the Sedins, you shut down the Canucks. If Bo Horvat or even, God forbid, Brandon Sutter comes out of somewhere and succeed, then there's a lot of teams like that. Though I'm not saying the Canucks will. I'm not overly optimistic, but they're one of these probably 10, 12 teams that could be at the bottom of the league or could sneak into the playoffs. And I feel like there's a lot of teams like that it's ifs. If there's no injury trouble, if a couple of young guys step up, you fill out the roster, you fill in a couple of those holes. You're not a perfect team, you're not a contender, but
and then when you have EA Sports is always they've been right on some things. They picked the Canucks and Bruins in the Stanley Cup final in a Game 7, except they gave it to the Canucks. They're generally pretty accurate, but you can't give out these predictions, these legitimate season previews when you go, yeah, they could make the playoffs, maybe, and then you start thinking about the other teams near them. Who is when you look at just the facts and what's on the table on the roster sheet, they got nothing. But there's potential. It's nothing with potential.
Yeah. Anyway, there's several teams that fit into that. So I wouldn't predict if I had to pick right now, Canucks make the playoffs or no. I will say they will not make the playoffs. If I had to pick them to sit at the bottom of the league, I don't think they're lucky enough. This is an organization that, this year, the year that they're expected to get to the bottom, the year when there's a guy that could be a bit of an impact player at the end of the rainbow there.
Oh, Nolan Patrick.
But, I mean, maybe it would be, the Canucks will get the top pick the year when there's, like, nobody in the draft. It'll be like the Sedin year, but they'll pick, Pavel Brendel this time.
It'll be like Eric Johnson going first overall.
Eric Johnson was an pick.
He's still a good player.
But he's not a first overall game changer.
Of course.
So, yeah, no, the way the Canucks play, just historically, they're going to finish like, 10th or 11th in the Western Conference and get another guy that's, okay. Maybe a good third liner, second line, Bo Horvat type of guy that probably won't change the world. But, you like having him on your team. He might be another Trevor Linden. You won't win you a Stanley Cup, but we'll love you because you'll give your all despite the fact that you don't win the Stanley Cup.
God love them. Those are my kind of guys.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I was even thinking Stanley Cup predictions. It's hard.
I'm just going with, I think next week we'll do, if all goes well next week.
We'll make picks as a group.
Yeah, hopefully all four. Because Dave is unable to make it. Gita's had a rough weekend. If you want to cheer up Gita, send her a tweet featuring Jason Spezza or Tyler Sagan or PK Subban and just say that you're thinking of her because she's had a rough weekend.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Gita's one of my favorite people ever. She's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Sincerely.
So if you're still listening, you should do that. Send her a tweet. Tell her you're thinking her. Or send it to us and I'll forward it to her. I'm good at that.
You can say nice things about us too.
Yeah, nobody wants to say anything nice about me.
Man, this is getting really uncomfortable. You're a good guy too, Ryan. You're a good guy too.
Nateen Sharan. I hope I pronounced that. I hate Nateen. Thoughts on Virtanen's preseason? Do you think he should be in Utica?
Like I said, I would have sent him to Utica, kind of similar to the Stetcher thing where people think, just a little experience down there, a little seasoning.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. Coming off an injury, I want to see him, dominate, at the next level. And you've seen success in organizations like Detroit that are more apt to leave guys down there a little bit longer. I know there was, a waiver issue this week, but I wouldn't mind seeing him spend some time in Utica this year just to be a top line dominant power forward and hopefully bring that back to the NHL.
In terms of me thinking, he got dealt a shit card in the second period of the first preseason game, and so if everybody's aligned, the stars have aligned. Rodin's going to go on IR, and it gives Jake that time to win the spots. I'm okay with that. But if he was in Utica right now, I'd be perfectly okay with that. He's in this weird limbo where he can't really screw up too much. He can screw up by sucking at hockey, but he's got a chance to do well here. He's got an even better chance to do well there. Both are positives. Just all we can do is watch him play and see what happens.
I want to see Brock Besser up with the team. I know that's not obviously happening, and he's already had some success as NCAA season started. But
I think it's 3 games deep. He's already got 5 points or something.
I think he had 4 points in the first game or something.
And he's getting some major. I don't know. Shout out, a lot
attention,
of
nationally.
A lot of
he
national
looked
attention.
fantastic as a rookie last year, and that NCAA, because there's 4 years of kids and 18, 19 year old guys. Really physically, there could be a huge difference sometimes between an 18-year-old and a 22, 23-year-old. And he held his own, and he's a big guy to begin with. So I mean, if he's only going to get thicker and stronger,
fatter.
You know what? He's probably got the muscle on him. He could carry a little bit, bit of weight.
The old Todd Bertuzzi in a start of the year.
Bertuzzi had some hops. He got around for a guy that carried the
poundaroonies.
Yeah, I mean he was what 240 or so. He was a big dude.
According
244.
According to Heavy Eric, he was either 244 or 245, and he looks like a
Watusi.
Looks like He's
got the moves of Leonarduzzi.
Which, it took me years to figure out who Bob Leonarduzzi was. I was like, who cares?
Yeah, well.
For those not in the Metro Vancouver area, There is a guy that dressed up like Elvis-ish.
And sang songs about the Canucks 15 years ago.
Yeah, and he did it, and
10
15 years
12
ago.
years ago.
And his residence was the Shark Club in Coquitlam, if I remember correctly. And I thought he was dead for a long time. Turns out we don't know that.
No, I think we found out he's alive. I think we looked into that. We've talked about this. Anyway.
He records videos of himself playing guitar while walking on a treadmill.
Okay.
So, Heavy Eric. He's got a song. We'll just sum up Heavy Eric here. He's got a song about Trent Klatt. 26,
he's Trent the Clatter.
And I'm pretty sure he rhymes it with a ladder.
Yeah, where he says he's 26, he's Trent the Clatter. He's 26, says let's get at her.
Yeah,
or something.
Pitter patter. When he hits you, the glass will shatter.
He scores goals. He bangs and crashes.
This whole Bachelorette.
He brushes up on the sweetest passes. I think these are new employees, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's just tour night at the office. We're in a fishbowl.
We are in a shanty.
So anyway, yeah, Trent Klatt was my favorite player for a while.
Oh, me too.
The original triplet, third Sedin.
Should have driven him to the airport. Always 94 was betting confused on Skille because his name says Skill. Feels like an inside job.
Well, should we really be questioning Hufflepuff like Jim Benning? They're particularly good at finding,
I don't even know what that means.
I'm glad you laughed. Anyway, a few people will enjoy that at home.
Chels at 3CH808 and Heartbreaks. Any guesses on the Canucks' personal goal songs this year, e.g. Hutton's goal song? Now, I just like to say that I think the personal goal songs idea sucks.
Really? As a baseball guy, and it's worked so well as walk-up.
Walk-up music is different because when they hit a home run, when there's a big hit, okay, like you can have your own walk-up song all you want, but when you hit a home run it's the same song for the whole team.
Okay.
Goal songs should be uniform for the team, and it should feed into the team-like mentality. And the personal goal songs is stupid. And the worst part, I understand where they're coming from, but half of the goal songs sucked so much. Like Brandon Sutter would have like suburban country, so you'd hear they'd score, and then you'd kind of hear like, and you're like, because it's a mood killer. It's like, when you go to a party and people start iPod battling.
It's a tough one though, because a lot of people hated a lot of the goal songs the Canucks have had. Like, you're never gonna make an entire fan base happy.
No, but I don't care if it's like the Canucks have a history of stupid goal songs.
You don't want to encourage individuality. You want to encourage playing for the logo on the front instead of the name on the back. I get that.
I just, you know what? It doesn't. That's not my argument. It's not so much about team mentality. It's about picking songs that are mood killers. Nothing's worse than a mood killer. There's no worse mood killer than you go to a party and somebody takes off, some sort of LBC, Warren G, or Dr. Dre the Chronic to put on some sort of 10-minute death metal or some sort of garbage. Like there's a music for specific moods in specific places, and all the goal songs should be exciting. They should be lively. They should have a beat, and you should be able to hear them. And when you play half the stuff that the Canucks were playing when they scored, it just killed the mood.
I feel like I want to put one together, like something you can play on the show, where like we have the play-by-play. Hutton over to Edler, shoots, he scores, and then I'm going to insert very inappropriate music, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know if you want to work on that.
What kind of inappropriate music?
Well, not like inappropriate music. We're not talking about like Donald Trump comments type of thing, but I'm just talking about like the one that came into my mind is can't even think of the name of the song. It's like an old 70s sort of folksy. Like, I can see a player picking that because I think it's funny. And when you're, like, predicting Ben Hutton's goal song, I was thinking Walking on Sunshine would be good.
He would, yeah.
Smiling Ben Hutton.
His would be Happy by Pharrell.
Yeah, something like that. Just,
Speaking of Ben Hutton, he has made his way into the intro.
Good.
And
do they have the jerseys at the team store yet? Do you know?
I haven't looked.
I went in and asked a while ago, and I'm still mad that I couldn't get one, but I could get North America jerseys. Yeah, that was upsetting. Didn't buy the McJesus. We did talk about that on the show, right? Yeah.
Anyway, if I had to pick Ben Hutton's goal song, it'd be "Smiling Happy People" by R.E.
Shining happy people laughing.
Okay.
Because that's got some balls to it. That's a little lively, and he's smiling. And now we know Ben Hutton obviously listens to the show, and so does Jake Virtanen, because he says pucks on net every single interview he's in.
Love the Jake.
Love the Drake. Love
the Jake.
Did I say Drake?
Yeah.
Damn it. Aubrey Graham. Chris Thorne.
Gina.
Chris Thorne wrote in last week. He tweeted, because the Canucks made a tweet, and it was a Jake, love the Jake quote. I'm playing shift to shift. I want to get some hits early and get some pucks on net. I'm excited to skate with Bo and Sven again. To Chris Thorne tweets, I don't think Virtanen should be worrying about downloading podcasts right now.
Maybe he should. Podcasts never made a player worse, did they? I don't know about that. If you listen to some of these very critical, statsy, decisions around game time type of podcasts, they might be a little, depressed. Oh, my numbers aren't as good as they should be.
Speaking of that,
gotta get that Corsi up.
Listening to that,
I think Emerson Etem listens to that other stats podcast and just gets down on himself. It's just he needs a good Radiohead depressing song for his goal song. Creep. Wouldn't that be great? That would be me if I had made it to the NHL. I'd play something horrible and depressing just to ruin the mood of the building. That's not true. I'd pick a Rack Hunters.
It's funny you say that, because in my brief games last season, filling in as the DJ for the Giants, when the opposing team scored, I would play the quietest acoustic-y songs ever, just to kill any vibe. So
I used to purposely, and I did for the Merritt Centennials a few times. And during the pregame skate, I'd play pump-up music.
Yeah.
And as soon as they would, because it was the entrance was on one side of the rink, so they'd all get off good and early so the other team could leave, because they had to wait till the Centennials had left the ice. I would turn on something like I Want to Dance with Somebody or something. And I actually had players come over and say, man, this sucks. And I'm like, yeah.
It's called home ice advantage, you
that's
idiot.
Basically anyway.
This is why you're in the BCHL, you turkey.
So anyway, I appreciate a good mellow insult to the opposition.
Me too. Rob Duckworth, at Rob Duckworth, he has a really good question. If Emerson Etem was a U.S.-based burger chain, which burger chain would he be?
Wait, who? What?
Emerson Etem was a U.S.-based burger chain.
Well, he can't be In-N-Out Burger.
No, because that is...
Yeah, I mean,
way up there.
That's like, Louis Erickson is...
Louis Erickson is not In-N-Out Burger.
Trying to think of who the best goal scorer on the Canucks would be, and right now I'm thinking it'll probably be Louis Erickson.
Yeah, if we're talking about in a bubble in the Canucks, Louis Erickson...
He'll get 30 goals. He should get 30 goals this year.
Yeah, he's In-N-Out Burger. He's got the longest line, baby, every night.
But yeah, who would he be?
Oh, I thought about it already. I already got to look at these tweets.
Okay.
Emerson Etem, Burger King.
Why is that?
Because when you hear the idea of a Whopper, it doesn't sound that bad. Flame broiled Whopper, Emerson Etem, Medicine Hat Tiger, exciting second round pick, plays with heart, grit. He's fast. He's seasoned in the dub. I don't think Willie coached him, but he's got all those things you want. Played in Western Canada. He's from California, actually, which that's always exciting.
Dan Murphy's question about his rap preference from Southern California.
Oh
too.
yeah, that was so bad. Talk about I've listened to somebody that's put his foot in his mouth before. That was a good one.
Speaking of, was that a killer for you during Canucks games when you heard "Fly Me to the Moon" kick in? That was Emerson Etem's goal.
Yeah, that's another perfect example. I get, you know what? Nothing wrong with Frank Sinatra is a legend. Frank Sinatra is a beautiful musician. But sweet Jesus, as funny as that is, it's like you need to create an ambience and an atmosphere. And Fly Me to the Moon is not a goal song. That's
maybe if you played for the Rangers and it was like New York, New York, it's a hell of a town. Doesn't he do that? Or maybe not that song, but he does something New York, New York.
Yeah.
If it was appropriate, but it just didn't seem to.
Anyway, so he'd be Burger King because flame broiled Whopper sounds just great. Whopper Wednesday, it's cheap.
But after you experience
$2.99, yeah, and you're like, oh god, come on, underwhelming, not satisfying,
a little bit bland.
You're like, wait a minute, a flame broiled Whopper sounds delicious, and this is what I get? Like, I should have gone to McDonald's.
Yeah, no, this is fair.
Thank you.
Burger King also owns Tim Hortons right now, though.
Oh, so I know. That's weird. That's so weird.
I don't go to Tim Hortons as much anymore, but I don't know if those two things are connected.
Which teams, if any, do you think the Canucks will finish ahead of in the standings? And that comes from Mike Scowlin.
Who could they finish ahead of in the standings?
Carolina.
Are we talking about league-wide or just the West?
Well, let's do West. My money on terrible teams is Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado's another one of these teams could go either way. If Nathan McKinnon actually has a breakout year or something, they could have some real game breakers in the lineup.
Of course. I think that the only teams that could be worse than the Canucks in the West will be an Alberta team and or Colorado.
Yeah, the first two teams that came to mind for me are Calgary and Edmonton, which I believe both could be playoff teams, but last season proved that, and even like watching the Oilers in the preseason, I know it's the preseason, but it wasn't overwhelming.
No.
And I'm still not sold on Cam Talbot as much as I love his Ghostbusters enthusiasm.
Yeah. And what I've seen...
And the defense.
The bottom six...
Chris Russell, man. Chris Russell.
What happened with him from trade deadline to yesterday when he signed for 1 year at $3.1 million?
Yeah, I mean, it really proved in free agency you kind of got to take the best deal that comes like within the first couple of days of the season, because the way the cap era has worked... As soon as guys have signed off 5 days into July, you're like, okay, well, that's pretty much what we're going to do. You see some trades after that, but not a lot of signings because you've spent all your money. Even if you're not up to the cap, you've spent what you've allocated to spend at that point.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, so Russell, I don't know if he overvalued himself. I don't know if he didn't get many offers based on his performance after the trade deadline. But you got to think he had probably a couple offers for some more money and held out, assuming he'd get Dan Hamhuis money or something.
Do you think that he just bought into his own hype? Which is hilarious.
That probably played a bit of a role.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was a good pickup. It makes the Oilers a better team.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a great pickup? Is it going to change their playoff
And it's 1 year.
hopes?
And it's 1 year. It's a perfect thing, because if he has a good year and he stabilizes that cluster fork of a defense and a cluster fork of a team, like, he'll get a hell of a deal for Edmonton because they'll think he was the reason behind it.
And you still want to be on, like, I'm not saying Edmonton's going to be bad forever like we believed previously. I do think they're headed in the right direction, and I just don't know if this year it could go either way. They could be an amazing team.
Yeah.
Or they could be below the Canucks in the standings, which is a horrible insult. And Calgary's the same. Calgary's the same.
Flames just signed Christopher Stieg to a 1 year deal. So.
Yes, who was playing in Edmonton for the preseason.
Yeah,
right?
PTO.
Yeah.
And but I mean, when you send down Hunter Shinkaruk, I mean, just season's over.
Yeah, life's not worth living anymore. That's a guy with a good smile too, but he had a little help.
He's a good-looking guy.
Papa Shinks knows how to take care of teeth.
The drop pass has 2 questions, and this is probably where we'll end it, because surprisingly, with the both of us on here, we've been talking for an hour.
Ugh.
I know, right?
Are people actually going to listen to this?
I think so. I think that this has been a new... It's probably because of the Barks root beer I'm drinking. Just delicious.
Yeah, well, you got to get Barks in this building because a lot of the vending machines will spit out 2 cans if you pay for 1.
Really?
You didn't know that? I thought that's the only reason you drank Barks here.
Oh, I just like
it's just this machine on this floor, though.
The drop pass. Is Louis Eriksson in contention for best hair in the league? I will say yes.
Someone was calling him, they were saying he looks like Christian Bale with longer hair.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
For
sure. I can see it. It's not very similar.
Henrik Lundqvist will still take that trophy to dinner with him for best hair.
Henrik Lundqvist is a handsome man.
There's nothing about it.
When I grow up, I want to be like Henrik Lundqvist.
Aren't you guys like the same age?
No, he's like 35, 36.
So he's got, what, 5 years on
He's got
you?
a good 5 years on me. Come on.
The Drop Pass also asks, why is Dave wrong about everything?
Wow. Dave is such a polarizing personality because I feel like a lot of people like, well, maybe not. Maybe I'm looking too much into this, but I always assumed like he has a lot of supporters and he tells it like it is, but I disagree with Dave on some things, and you need to have somebody come in with a different opinion, because there's nothing that's more homogenized than when you read a blog or whatever and it goes, what's your take on this? And
well,
everybody says the same thing.
It's a good idea, but it could be a bad idea. But
you're wrong, Ryan.
Oh.
This is not true. You want everybody to sound the same. Stop telling us this crap. You're wrong.
Dave
That's
is
me proving a point.
Dave is actually when we started this podcast, I soon realized what I had, because I am the democratic dictator of the podcast.
It's your show, Ryan.
Yeah, but I mean, if I didn't have you three, I wouldn't have a show. So as much as I call the shot, anyway, it was soon, a month or two in, I realized what I had from Dave and from you and from Gita especially.
Well, Gita and me weren't there at the beginning.
Of course, but I soon realized it was like the Winnipeg Jets prospect pool. I had an embarrassment of riches, and I'm so thankful that the three of you do what you do and how you do it, because it makes everything that much more enjoyable and that much easier for me. Now, don't wipe your tears off. Okay,
Give me a second.
Let me finish this off. Guilty Afternoon, he asks.
Sorry, I got my little... That's what all the cool kids are doing now on microphones.
Hank, Daniel, or Louie with more points this year. I think Louis Eriksson will have the most points. Maybe Hank?
Yeah, I'd still probably go with Hank, just purely based on the way he distributes the puck. He picks up a lot of assists. It's easier to lock him up.
And finally,
although Daniel might beat Hank in assists, because he's proven he's a playmaker too now, if he's not the fire guy on the line.
Plus, and we know half the time they switch jerseys.
That's true.
Yeah, and everybody knows that. If you don't know that, you're an idiot, but whatever. What do I know? He also has any waiver pickups, clearings you are surprised about, and mine are not really.
No,
you need
some people were talking about Pulkkinen, like why would the Wings give up on, they're usually good about not losing assets like that. I get the feeling he's one of these guys, potentially.
He's just potential?
Like, Hunter Shinkaruk type of guy that looks good on paper, but I trust, at least from the past 20 years
Ken
or so.
Holland.
Yeah, the Detroit Red Wings organization is a good talent evaluating organization, and they probably have seen that he will struggle to transfer his game for whatever reason. I haven't seen a lot of him to the NHL, and I hear he has a lot of good qualities, and maybe he will succeed, but it's a big red flag that I think is raised if the Detroit Red Wings are willing to pass up on you or put you on waivers knowing that you'll probably get taken. So maybe he's like Hunter Shinkaruk, where he takes a few too many hits at the AHL level, and they don't think he can sustain those hits when he's behind the net in the NHL with a guy that's 20, 30, 40 pounds heavier.
That's very true.
So there's something in there, I'm guessing.
We're at that. We're soon realizing once the salary cap came in and everything became about drafting and developing your own prospects and everything being about potential. You need as many picks, you need as many prospects. We're now entering that part of the ordeal where we're like, well, shit, maybe you have this abundance, this giant pool, and you don't have anything in it. And people are slowly starting to realize that potential is not a game plan.
Yeah. No, I mean, you want to build for Detroit's a great example. You want to build from within. You want to have prospects and stuff like that. But we're in a very numbers-heavy era, and I, on the podcast, probably more than anyone, have been pro-analyzing the numbers. But I do think, the more I've talked to people and seen things, there are certain things you just need to see in person and see how a player reacts, and you can predict certain things that are not sustainable, People talk about shooting percentages not being sustainable if they're really good at shooting the puck. That's a basic example. If he's shooting 20-some% one season, he's probably not going to carry that on his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
There's other things like taking a hit and being able to work your way, in the slot, tough things like that don't always show up until you get to the NHL. You
can have very good outlet plays and transfer into the neutral zone and into the offensive zone really great, and it looks good on a heat chart, but it's what you do when you get there
consistently. And this is talking of using those numbers at lower levels. When you get to the NHL, then yes, I think there is a little more credence when you get a guy that plays 60 to 80 games a year. It's different at the AHL. You can't look at it as Corsi at the AHL and assume everything's going to transfer over because it's not the same game.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dave would probably agree with me there. I'd hope.
We love Dave. I think we're going to wrap it up, this podcast. We somehow went long with just the two of us.
Well, we survived. Can I just put the mic down? Can I drop the mic?
No, you're not allowed to do that anymore.
That's a rule.
I haven't even brought this up with anybody on the podcast yet, but I'm thinking of an idea, and I'm just wanting to get some feelers out there. And so if you're still listening at this point in the podcast, you're clearly
Thank you, first of all.
You're clearly a fan. And so I am slowly, they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So as many podcasts, both local and worldwide, have done, I've been starting to think about doing a live podcast with an audience.
With an audience?
Yeah.
See, I think I'm too boring for people to listen to in person. But sure,
go
for it.
We'll just fill you full of liquor and it'll be fine. If you are still listening and you think that you would be intrigued in that, likely happening somewhere, either downtown or likely downtown Vancouver.
Could we just have like a big party? Could we do it like the Christmas party?
Can
we have a piñata?
Working on something.
Okay.
If you would be interested in doing that, it would be very affordable, if not free. If you would want to come down,
BYOB.
Yeah. Well, don't even, just if you would be interested in coming. I gotta hammer out booze. If you would be up for coming to a live taping with an audience of Pucks on Net, maybe on a Friday night, if not Saturday afternoon, Saturday night. If you would be interested and want to go, let us know on Twitter. Email us, pucksnet@shaw.ca. Message us on Facebook, whatever. But if you're interested in doing that in likely the new year, let us know. And we're just putting feelers out now.
Would it be in bad taste if the piñata was shaped like Mark Messier? I
No.
feel like that would get a big turnout.
If
we just did that,
fine.
we don't even need to podcast.
There you go.
That would draw a crowd.
Mark Messier. I know where I can get a Mark Messier Canucks jersey too. Mark Messier shaped piñata, live taping of Pucks on Net, studio audience, downtown Vancouver. If you're interested in that and would want to come, just let us know. And we'll leave it at that.
Just rent out, like the...
Oh, do it downstairs.
Do it downstairs. We rent out a hall.
Well, hall, if we rent...
Wise Hall or something in East Van.
If we rent a hall, I got to charge money. But...
if people are interested in that, we could host a real
humdinger.
But
if it's not...
shaker.
If it's there, we would have to charge people, but we could serve or sell beer. If it's here, then it becomes iffy. But anyway, we've put it in your brain. Let's leave it at that.
Let us know.
Thanks for listening this week. Again, if you want to support us, tell a friend. That's all we ask. If you know somebody that...
share the podcast link on Facebook.
Yeah, and make sure you subscribe on iTunes and rate and review. That's the best way to do it. We're now on Google Play. Listen to us there, or TuneIn, or Stitcher. Everything's at pucksnet.ca. Follow our friends over at Rabbit Habs. We didn't mention the Habs once this week. And like us on Facebook, all that bullshit. And
I can't wait to see Shea Weber.
Yeah.
Rabbit Habs. Qua. Sorry, had to get that in there. We don't say that enough. Qua.